Hi, Diana here. We're in the kitchen today, and I'm going to demonstrate how to do all kinds of things in the kitchen with one hand. Now, I'm making a pot of beef and noodles. This is not a cooking show, so I will not be giving recipes or anything like that. But I do make my own homemade noodles. I don't care for store-bought noodles. I make my own, and it doesn't take very long to make them, a little flour and eggs, and that's it. Now, what I do when I make noodles, I put them in my big mixing bowl, and then I use a wet washcloth on my cabinet. I set the bowl on it, and that keeps the bowl from sliding around so that I can work with it, and I don't have to chase the bowl all over the cabinet. Now, I've got my noodles made up, or my dough made up for the noodles. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll them out on the cabinet and show you how I do that, all with one hand. So all you cooks out there, just because you have one hand or only the use of one hand doesn't mean that you can't do anything in the kitchen. Now, this is my rolling pin. It has no handles on the end because I can't use the handles anyway. I'm going to put some flour on the rolling pin. Make sure I got plenty of flour on the dough. And I'm going to roll with my hand across the rolling pin. Now, you got to have a lot of flour on the cabinet because you don't want the dough to stick. So every little bit I stop, make sure I've got flour underneath and that it's movable, and I keep going. And I just keep pushing it in all different directions out from the center. And I keep rolling until it's very thin. And then I can let them dry once they're all rolled out. But this is a quick and easy way to make noodles homemade. They taste better than any store-bought that you can buy. And I've bought the frozen ones. I've bought the ones made by the Mennonites. They're good, but they're not as good as mine. I like mine better, but theirs are good. I don't deny that. Okay, my noodles are all rolled out now. I got to make sure that nothing is going to stick to the cabinet. And it's all loose. Okay. Then you take a little bit of flour, put it all over the top. Helps dry it out. Now, when the noodles are dry, some people go ahead and roll them up as is and cut them into noodles. I do not. I let them dry for a couple of hours, and it makes the dough hard. And I have a noodle cutter. This is my noodle cutter. It was a gift from a friend, so I don't know where you get them. Probably some kitchen supply place. But I cut my dough into quarters when it's dry, and then I just run this like a pizza cutter, and it makes strips of noodles, which then can be put in your broth and cooked. So there, that's the noodles. Now I'm going to peel an onion and cut up an onion to put in my broth for my beef. Now, I use a paring knife. There's my cutting board. Here's my onion. Because I have to pull the knife toward me, you have to be very, very careful not to cut your own thumb while you're cutting your food. I use my body And I got to cut the end off. My knife is very, very sharp, so I'm careful what I'm doing because I have to pull it toward me. Cut the ends off here. Again, I use my body to kind of hold it still. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to slice the onion, being very careful not to cut my own thumb as I pull the knife toward me because it is very, very sharp. And yes, occasionally I have cut myself, so I wasn't as careful as I thought I was. But you can cut up anything that you want to cut up if you're careful. And I'm just cutting them in big chunks because they're just going in my beef broth for my beef and noodles. One arm does not stop me from doing anything in life, and it shouldn't stop you either. My baby brother always said, necessity is the mother of invention. And I've had to invent a lot of things to do things with one hand. There's too much life going on out there, and I'm not going to let it stop me from living it just because I got one hand. I might have to do things a little differently, but that's all right. To me, the end justifies the means. And boy, these are a strong onion too. It's making my eyes water already. Now I do have a chopper that I use if I'm going to be cutting massive amounts of onions, but I'm not using it today because I'm only cutting the one. Oh. Okay, now the onions are done. I've got my pot of broth over here. And I use my shoulder a lot. That's my second hand. My legs are a second hand. My mouth is a second hand. So I'm going to hold the cutting board with my chin and put the onions in the pan. Now, I'm going to peel a potato, or some potatoes, to demonstrate how to do that. Turn the board over. Okay, I'm going to have my small paring knife for that. I have a short paring knife. It's got a shorter blade on it, but it's very sharp too. Now, I hold the paring knife in my fingers like this. My thumb is free so that my thumb can work the potato. I start at the top of the potato and trying to stay just under the skin of the potato, because I don't want to peel away too much of the potato meat itself. And again, I'm using my thumb to kind of push down on the potato to hold it still, being careful as I pull it toward myself. Like I said, I love to cook, so the kitchen is where I'm comfortable. And I can do anything in the kitchen that anybody else can do. I can peel a bag of potatoes in, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 minutes maybe, without peeling away all of the meat. There's one potato done. Yeah, there's a couple of little spots on there, but I leave those because that's where all your vitamins and minerals are, is in the peeling anyway. And sometimes I leave a lot more peeling on them because that is where your vitamins and minerals are. I'm not comfortable with a potato peeler. I prefer a paring knife, but you can use whatever you're comfortable with. If a peeler works for you, use a peeler. But I prefer the paring knife. And there's potato 2. Rinse my knife off a little bit. I'm going to peel 4 because that should be enough for my dinner, and of course it'll last me a few days. And I will show you how I cut them up, because occasionally I like fried potatoes. Yeah, I know that's not that healthy for you, but I'm a southern girl to a point. I like fried foods. I try to be careful though and monitor my intake of fried food, but sometimes you just like fried taters. Like I said, I've been doing this all my life. It'll take you practice. But if you practice at it every day or every time you want to use a particular item, you'll get better at it. Okay, there's another potato done. And for the last one, makes me sweat. You know, I've been doing this my whole life. Like I said, I've even worked outside the home. I worked at a couple of fast food restaurants. I carried trays of food out for customers that weren't able to carry them, and I did it with one arm. So, you know, there's nothing you can't do if you want to. You have to want to do it bad enough, and don't let anything stand in your road. Now, there's the 4th potato done. I'm just going to dump this stuff in my trash right quick. I'm going to tie up my trash here shortly, but I'm going to show you how to cut up some potatoes first. Rinse them off. Let me get a pan right quick to put these potatoes in. Now I'm just going to chunk them up because I'm going to make mashed potatoes. Again, using the knife in my fingers. I use my thumb as the guide, being careful not to cut myself, which I have occasionally. It happens. And because I'm just going to make mashed potatoes, I'm just going to cut chunks I just cut them in half, cut the halves in half lengthwise. Of course, you know, you just boil them up and then mash them with a potato masher. I know some people out there use what am I thinking here? Mixer. I don't use a mixer. I have a regular potato masher, and I just mash them by hand after I drain the water out. Now I want to show you too with these potatoes, if I was going to make fried potatoes, they have to be thinner. So then you just cut them thinner like this to make fried potatoes. But they'll boil up, that'll be just fine. I find it when you rinse the knife periodically, it seems to cut better, getting some of that potato residue off of it. That's a little big. Cut them down in size. Okay, potatoes are cut up now. Go ahead and get them in water and set them on the stove, and they'll be ready to go for later. I'm going to clean up this mess. My trash needs to be emptied. And it's full. And I will show you how I change the trash with one hand and pull it all up out of the can. Okay, I just kind of gather the trash in the middle, the bag. Because it's full, it's going to take a minute. I have to kind of shake it back and forth because it creates a suction down in there. It takes a minute. I get it up out of there. Okay. Now, because the trash bag was draped over the outside of the can, it's clean, so I can put my mouth on it. But this is how I just tie it up. There, my trash is tied up and it's ready to go out. Now I'll put another bag in the barrel. Like I said, my mouth a lot of times is my second hand. Fancy like I do. There you go. I got the bag in there. The lid goes on top. Now we've changed the trash. I'm going to wash my hands. I'm Come on over here. Well, dishes to wash. I'm going to demonstrate how to wash a few dishes with one hand. I don't have an automatic dishwasher. I am the automatic dishwasher. Just put the rag around your hand, and I spin the cup with my hand inside the cup. I spin the cup using my thumb to twist it. That way I clean the inside of the cup, clean the outside of the cup. Done. Now when it comes to silverware, except for the sharp knives, you can clean them on the edge of the sink on the rag. The rest of the silverware in here, I clean it with my hand because I can feel food particles that are on there, plus I can look between the teeth of the fork and see if I've got everything out of there, and I did, because you can feel if it's greasy. Spoons, you can feel. I wash everything with my hand. Okay, bowls. Again, I put the rag on my hand, put the bowl up against the sink, or the pan in this case, and I go around in a circle to clean the inside of this bowl and to clean the outside. I can feel, and a person can feel if it's dirty. You can feel if it's greasy, or you can feel food particles on there. Again, with my rag around my hand, I just go around and around in circles, clean the inside. This goes on the outside in that bowl. Now I've got a plate here. Again, I use my body to kind of hold the plate still and just go around on the plate. Turn it over. I said, I get my dishes clean. I was raised that if you don't get them clean the first time, you're going to do them again. I don't like washing dishes myself. This is my cutting board. I said, there's nothing a person can't do if they put their mind to it. Now I have my rolling pin. Rolling pin with no handles works for me. Can't use the handles anyway. Rolling pin is clean. There's no flour or anything stuck to it. Now I have this bowl with all the noodle dough in it. I just scrape it loose. We're going to let that soak for a few minutes. before I finish trying to wash it. When I come back in a few minutes, I will show you how to do breads and stuff like that on the counter without them moving all over the place. See you in a little bit.